And welcome back. So today we're going to have another lesson about time and telling time to the half hour. Now today we're going to be telling time to the half hour using this analog clock. In our other lesson, we were using our dry erase board clock and it was telling us the hour numbers, and then I made it easy because I put all the minute numbers all around in red. But in real life, an analog clock will not have all the minute numbers all around. So you have to be able to remember all the minute numbers and where they belong. Make sure today you practice the placement of the hour numbers, which are the purple numbers, and the minute numbers. Now today, I'm going to give you different times on my analog clock. And I'll even put the imaginary 30 right here, and then I'll put the 2 zeros right here just to help you out. And then we'll get started. As you can see, I put those imaginary zeros, 2 zeros here, and that's where we always start. And I put that imaginary 30 right there just to help you out. So let's get started with the first one. Now remember, we're telling time to the half hour, not the hour, the half hour. And the half hour will always be when the minute hand is pointing to the 6, but it's actually pointing to that imaginary 30. So, what does this time say? Now, if you need to, pause the video right now and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. If you look here, the hour hand is pointing to the 1, which tells us that what hour we are in. And the minute hand is pointing down here to the 6. But remember, it's not actually pointing to the 6. Who can tell me what it's actually pointing to? Say the answer right now out loud. It's actually pointing to that imaginary 30. So this says 1:30. Let's keep going with the next one. Now we have the hour hand pointing to the 2. Remember, that tells us the hour that we are in. And then we have the minute hand pointing to that imaginary 30. Now, what time does this analog clock say? Pause the video right now if you need to. Say the answer out loud, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. So this analog clock says 2:30. Okay, so here I have the hour hand pointing to the 6, and remember, it tells us what hour that we are in. And then we have the minute hand also pointing to that imaginary 30. Remember, the minute hand will only point to those imaginary minute numbers as we saw on our dry erase board analog clock. Now let's continue with this one. So like I said, we have the hour hand pointing to the 6. We have that minute hand pointing to that imaginary 30 that tells us the minutes that we are in. So what time does this analog clock say? Remember to pause the video if you need extra time. Now, if you said 6:30, then you are correct. Great job. So let's move on to the next one. Now, my hour hand is on the 7, and my minute hand is still pointing to that imaginary 30. Now for today's video, it's going to stay pointing to that imaginary 30 because we are practicing time to the half hour. That's all we're doing today. So pause the video right now, then press play when you're ready to tell me the answer. Now, if you said that this clock says 7:30, then you are correct. Great job. Now, this clock says 7:30 because the hour hand is pointing to the 7, and that minute hand is pointing to that imaginary 30. So it says 7:30. And remember, that minute hand will only point to those imaginary numbers that tell us what minutes that we have. Now let's do 2 more. Now my hour hand is pointing to the 8. My minute hand's pointing to that imaginary 30. So what time is it? If you said 8:30, then you are correct. Let's do 1 more to end our lesson. Now, my hour hand is pointing to the 12, and my minute hand is pointing to that imaginary 30. Pause the video right now and figure out the answer. When you're ready, press play. Now, if you said it is 12:30, then you are correct. Great job. Now, that is the last one for today. Thank you for participating in my lesson.